going to be talking a little bit in code today because if you watch my channel and you watch my live, yes.
Is the plane going down? Are we going to die? Why are you saying I'm sorry?
Hey guys, so welcome back to my channel. Give me 2 minutes to get my audio situated. I hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Real Housewives of New Jersey. We're going to be talking about some of the headlines that we've seen recently pertaining to Bravo. And I want you guys to comment. Let me know where you're watching from. And I also want to talk about allegedly messy Melissa posting on a fan page about a podcast and saying not such nice things. And yeah, I want to go over that with you. And I want to also talk to you guys about Ariana because she too commented about her living situation with Tom and why she continues to reside there and what the situation is. And if you don't know, back in May, there were lots of articles that were alluding to the fact that they had broken up and, you know, they were going to not live together anymore. But apparently they never did that. And then when Rachel went on Bethany, she let that out. And of course, the internet went wild. So there's a plane passing right now. I'm getting my audio together. How's everyone today? Are you guys staying up to speed with everything that's going on? I swear my head hurts. We have to talk about Kim D. Let's start with Kim D because there's a lot there to unravel. First of all, we know that she split with David Yontef. You guys know I was sad to hear that. I love and respect both of them, and I wish both of them success, and I hope that they, you know, can be friends still after, because sometimes it's hard to do business with friends. It's just how it is. And since her separation with David, I think it was just how the ball fell. Her and Teresa started, of course, well, they followed each other. Yeah, they followed each other. And I think that there was some sort of maybe conversation between the two of them and a resolution, if you will. And I personally love that. I know some people, Kim D is like not their cup of tea, and that's completely fine. But in my opinion, strategically, I think that bringing Kim D on would be a great move for Teresa. It would be a great move for Teresa and Jennifer both, to be honest with you, because here's the thing. Danielle is great in everything. If she wants to be Team Teresa, that's fine. That's cool. We'll let you be a part of the team, but she's not going to be. She doesn't bring to the team what Kim D brings to the team. Okay, because Kim D rolls with the big dogs. Remember, she rolls with the big dogs, and she isn't scared to speak up, and she makes a great villain. I'm not being an asshole. She knows that. She probably take that as a compliment. Like, she knows I'm not talking shit at all. She makes a great villain. And if she joins the dream team, it's over because she's not scared to do anything. She don't, you know, she'll go after Margaret. She'll go after Margaret all day long. She will eat them up and spit them out. She's been around since day one. Melissa will be shitting her pants. I'm so sorry, but Kim knows where all the bodies are buried. All of the bodies. And I don't know if we're going to see her in my gut, because sometimes I get these like intuitions, and it'll be totally sporadic, but it will end up being like point on. It'll be the weirdest things, but I'm having that feeling about Kim D returning to the Real Housewives of New Jersey as some sort of friend of, potentially joining Teresa and Jennifer, trying to, you know, just hold their spot on the show. All right, let me get my audio in, and then I'm gonna get my visual going so that we can. Oh no, I still have to charge this. What do you guys think? Do you want to see Kim D back on the Real Housewives of New Jersey? Do you think that she would make a good addition to Teresa and Jennifer? One thing I appreciate about Kim D is I feel like she's pretty loyal to, whom she's dealing with. She was very loyal to Teresa all of these years. She was so loyal on the show to Teresa that production actually allegedly that's why they weren't all rainbows and butterflies for Kim D because they felt like she was too loyal to Teresa. And because they've been giving Teresa the crappy edit for all these years, they can't have someone being so loyal. They couldn't have someone being so loyal to Teresa because they had to they didn't have to, but they were running the narrative of Melissa, the America's sweetheart, and Teresa, the villain. And poor Teresa didn't even know because she wasn't even watching the damn show. So, okay. You just want to watch me curl my hair today? Doesn't that sound fun? Kim comes back. I know Jacqueline would never accept to fly over for an episode or two. I know. Wait, are they supposed to do? Oh, Jamie. Yes, they are. I know. I look a train wreck, guys. I'm sorry. I'm working on it. Yes, they did have a Philly show that they were going to do, and they actually ended up, I think they were going to reschedule because of the timing. Kim D had like a family wedding or something like that she was going to be attending. How's my audio, guys? If anyone can comment. I was going to go because, of course, like I love to support podcasters and I support David. I saw him in New York and we hung out afterwards and he was like so nice, so down to earth, so humble. Kim D was there too. Oh, that eyebrow looks a little too long. Kim D was there too. She just didn't stay like afterwards. She didn't stay at all. She like took a couple of photos and then she bounced. She was gone. I don't think Kim D likes to leave like her zip code. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just like some people they get older and they're just like comfortable where they're comfortable and they just don't like to, go other places. Like they're just comfortable where they're comfortable, which is totally fine. And I think Kim's kind of one of those people nowadays. Like she's cool if it's in New Jersey or New York City and she can get home, to her house or whatever. But when she's got to travel, I feel like that's a little stressful for her probably. But in regards, she was going to do it. I think that the family wedding is what put that on the back burner. And it's also a major Jewish holiday. I apologize that I don't know the day, the specific holiday. Maybe somebody in the comments does. The show was booked for September 24th. And it was somehow ended up being on a Jewish holiday. Jamie said, only want Kim with Teresa to take Marge out. Well, hello, Jamie. Yes. I mean, Kim doesn't have to give us a bunch of family life. Like, that's where Bravo makes a mistake. Like, let her come in and do her thing. What is Kim's expertise? What does Kim do best? She starts shit. And she finishes shit. And she don't give any shits. Like, that's a good housewife. Because I feel like Kim can say things that Teresa can't say. Kim can make moves that Teresa and Jennifer can't make. Jennifer's got kids within the school district there. Her husband's a freaking doctor. I'm sure that her and Teresa would like to play as dirty as Marge does and go around and do and play like the other team. But I think that they genuinely care how they are looked at in their community as it pertains to Bill having a practice, an actual practice where patients come there, they choose him. She can't be doing all the stuff she probably wants to do because there's repercussions for that. And Teresa, obviously being Teresa, she can't do probably some of the moves she would like to do. So I think that's why Kim D would be such a great addition to their team, because it's always great to have but what Teresa's strength might be different from Jennifer's strength from Kim D's strength. Plus, Kim D has connections for days, and don't let her tell you otherwise, okay? Let me tell you, the woman has contacts for days as far as it pertains to New Jersey. That's just how it is. She's been there for years and years and years. Her mother lived there. She owned a small shop. If you don't remember, Danielle Staub started shopping there. Just because it was small doesn't mean it wasn't expensive or had nice things. That's just, boutiques were really sort of in back then. And Danielle Staub, that was her friend. The ladies started shopping there. And that's essentially how we met Kim D. Now, we haven't seen her since Teresa came home from prison. That's the last time. If you remember, she had a show and Dolores and somebody else walked in it because it was for charity. And if you remember, Teresa and the other girls came to the event, and I think that Kim and Teresa got into it. And I don't know if they've really spoken since. At least I'm not sure what happened. Sorry, guys. Let me see. Barbara, I'm not sure what happened, but Kim confirmed this on Instagram when she was asked about the fallout. Yes. She said that, it didn't work out. And that sucks because they were friends. And I think that sometimes that happens with business. Things happen. It's hard to do business with your friends. It's just how it is. It can be difficult. And they have a lot of the same personality traits, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. Okay. Come on into my circle. I got to tell you what I'm going to be honest about. I think that there are people who purposely infiltrated Kim and David. I think that people instigated things in comments to both of them about each other. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they would talk shit about Kim to David and talk, and vice versa to the other one. And I don't know if it was necessarily one person or a group of people. A group effort is what I'm going to go with. And I think that ultimately that could be part of what happened. Because if you guys remember when Kim started doing the podcast with David on Saturdays, I think it was like during New Jersey, and we hadn't seen Kim in a while. Oh, Mandy, ew. Mandy said, don't forget Kim D loves John Fuda. I think Kim D didn't know the whole story yet. Once Kim D knows the whole story, Kim D has morals. Jail doesn't make you a bad person to Kim D. Prison doesn't make you a bad person to Kim D. She rolls with the big dogs, i.e. gangsters, if you will, old school, I would say. Like her man was like a made man, I think, or something like that. So I think that I don't want to say Bravo directly. I think that Bravo's clean. Remember how I told you guys yesterday? Well, I'm posting another video about it tonight. It's from yesterday when I filmed it. And I said that I think Bravo is cleaning up their act, and they're doing it by bringing like Jax and Brittany back to Bravo because now they have a spinoff. So there's not going to be any bad, those two are definitely not going to, push the boundaries, if you will, or say anything ill about Bravo, right? I feel like they picked the people who had the most dirt on Bravo, and they were like, hey, because they probably knew, I'm going to say they knew what Bethany had in the works. And they probably knew that Jax Taylor and Brittany knew a lot of shit, and so did Stassi. And so they were like, ring, 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 ring. It's your lucky day today. Do you know what you win? You win your own spinoff. I know we haven't talked since Black Lives Matter. And, we probably did you dirty and fired you and didn't give you a severance pay or anything, but saw you're doing great on Instagram and thought I'd reach out and offer you a spinoff. I mean, what the hell is that about? That makes no sense. And that's why I kind of like Rachel, because she pointed that out. Like, she must not be very stupid. She must like be semi-smart, because like she called that out. She called out Ariana still living with Tom. If you notice, Ariana's been on such the defense about that, because everyone's been like supporting her, like be a boss girl, be a boss bitch. Like, yes. And she is sort of like, taking it all in, and here we find out like they're still living together. And I'm sorry guys, but I heard their house is like maxed, mortgaged, line of credit, whatever. Like, they owe a lot of money on it to the bank. Allegedly, a lot of that money went towards Tom's opening of Tom and Sandy, whatever. But people are saying like, why she can't move out of the house because it's her house. like she's gonna pay for a house that she doesn't live in. I'm like, well, why would she pay for a house that she doesn't live in? Why can't he make the house payment? Or why can't he pay her rent then and she use that to make the house payment? She's not in risk of losing anything because of the fact that there's no equity in the home at this point because they owe so much money on it to the bank. And regardless, it felt deceiving to fans, at least for me, because I went back and I found all these like articles from May when Ariana was like alluding, like saying, moving out, her plans for moving out. And it felt like she moved out and fans never thought about it again until wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Rachel hops on Bethany's podcast and, stirs some shit up. Because a lot of people didn't know. And I can tell you that simply by the comments that I got from people when I posted about it. Because there was a content creator. How do we know Ariana and Tom? Exactly, Mandy. I mean, here's the thing. I don't know if it was an intentional setup, but I think they knew they had gold after it happened. I think that Tom has like some things that are emotional that are not exactly correct. And so therefore, sometimes they, search and find other people or sometimes I think like men that are like going through it find someone that's on their emotional level to confide in. And Tom is 40. So that would put his emotional maturity level about 27. I mean, that's probably generous. And so he probably gravitated towards Raquel because they have the same emotional understanding. And the thing about the phone falling out of his pocket and Ariana having a feeling, I think she just went through his phone. Why would she have a feeling? Anytime that someone hands me my phone, I'm going through it if he's not around. Hell yes, I'm going through it. I'm going to the bathroom. I'm locking myself in there. I'm going through. I'm taking pictures with my phone of everything. I'm not going to sit there and read it. I'm going to take pictures of it so I have it. Anything that I could think would, I want to read. And then I would return the phone. She doesn't have to make it sound like I had a feeling. No, bitch, you didn't trust him. Just say that. You didn't trust him. Maybe this wasn't the first time. Maybe he had strayed before. She doesn't want people to know that because then what? What if he's cheated before and does that change the situation? If he cheated on her before and we didn't know about it, does that change the situation when he cheats again? I guess. I mean, to me, it would just make it all the more the reason to never want to see this man, let alone work with the man and then live with him. Think about that for a second. Okay. Shit happens and sometimes you end up living in really, really uncomfortable situations, okay? I lived in prison for 3 years, okay? Like, I've lived it. Sometimes it's in relationships. I don't know. It's like a humbling experience that God gives everyone sometime, someplace. Maybe you have to spend some time. I don't know. And I get that. And you can reside for a short stints of time, never trying to like look at each other, talk to each other, and not, unalive each other at the same time. But you can't do that for extensive amounts of time. Okay. Unless if you're forgiving or you're letting go and letting God, you're letting the resentments out, you found somebody else that you're happy with, you want to, you're not concerned about them, whatever the case may be. But you're not going to continue to reside with them. If you're dating somebody else, you're not going to be living with your ex-fiance that cheated on you on national television. Because I mean, if I don't want to date a guy that's still living with his ex and she cheated on him, I'd be like, so she kicked you to the curb. She was cheating on you. You're still living with her and you want me to date you? Oh no, hell no. What's that about? And meanwhile, she's like doing all of her deals. She's getting a lot of money for the things that she's doing. I mean, she's working. That's great. But I think that she could show us what a boss bitch is. She has the means. She has a great job. She has a lot of connections. She has a lot of resources. She could be like, no, girls, this is how you handle it, and get a studio, sign a 1-month lease, move in with a friend, evict him, If it's that serious, if he won't leave your house, girl, that's like a tenant not leaving a rental property. You go and evict him. If he's receiving mail there, then there's like a legality to how long you have to give him before you officially evict him. Like maybe it's a 2 week, maybe it's a month, it depends. I think it's like different, to your county and state. I don't know what it is in California. I'm sure that it's in favor of the landlord because there's a high homeless rate in LA, so I'm sure it's not hard to evict somebody. I know that if she would have filed it back in May, he would be evicted by now. And hello, storyline. I mean, these people, I've been putting fires out for people all day. I swear to God. I'm like, hello? That's an amazing storyline. I would be like, oh my God, Tom won't leave my house. Like, I'm literally staying with my friend, or I had to sign a lease because I'm not going to live with him because I am independent and I make good money. And, I don't have to live in this house with him just because my name's on a mortgage for, all this money and the house isn't even worth that. That doesn't make any sense. Let's see, comments. John Fuda knew his background and was trying to intimidate Louis. The whole cast on the side was after Louis to distract from Joe G and Joe F, even Bravo and Andy. I think that John probably, now he's someone that you would say, like, when he, like, after you would hang out with him or something, if you're like introducing him and then he would walk away, you'd be like, he thinks he's a gangster. We just let him have it. We just let him have it. He thinks he's a gangster because he used to, party and sell party favors allegedly. I don't know, gangbanger, gangster, I don't know, whatever. That's what I would say. Like, I'm gonna need you to calm down, John Fuda. I'm gonna need you to just own your valet business and your tile business and leave the rest alone. But clearly there's something going on there. Like, there's a couple of red flags, right? I mean, I kind of feel bad for Rachel a little bit because I feel like she's young and seems very sweet, but I don't know. I don't think that John is the real John on camera or probably at home. He's like one of those chameleons that's like different where he goes a little bit. I don't know. I don't trust him. I don't trust him. I don't trust that he changed his last name before he came on the show and didn't tell anyone. I've told you guys before. Like, that's a disrespect. That's disrespectful to all of us who are bloggers and investigators and do stories and deep dives and all this stuff. And you think no one's going to find that? Did Joe Gorga tell you that? Because he got off with the whole birthday thing, like it's dismissible because it could be misreported, but every single website has it wrong, and that wasn't intentional, and they're talking about it now 12 years later. So strange. Moving on, though. Oh my God. Ever seen the movie Pacific Heights with Melanie Griffith and Michael Keaton? It's about a tenant versus landlord. It takes place in San Francisco. Crazy, scary movie. So, listen, that's a real thing. If you are a landlord and you rent, sometimes you can't get people out of your house. Like, sometimes they quit paying rent and you literally have to evict them. And they usually are going to, they're probably not great tenants anyways. And your property is probably trash. But yeah, it's a legal thing that happens all the time because anyone that is a landlord that has properties, this potentially could happen when you're renting to people. So it would be nothing for her to go down there and be like, I want to evict him from my house. Where do I sign? How much do I got to pay to file this? You don't need an attorney for that. She commented on Instagram to someone's comment that was like, are you still living with Tom? And she was like, I don't even want to say what she said, but she said, I'm waiting on my attorney because I don't want to uproot my dog and my elderly cat because the three of us have been through enough. I was like, not the elderly cat, though. Not the elderly cat, though. Come on, not the elderly cat. Great movie. Why doesn't Ariana have people move in and stay? I mean, exactly. There's so many options. But, and again, I don't think anyone cares that much. Like, I wouldn't even care that much except for the fact that you have a whole narrative going on, like, in the blogger and Bravo community, that Tom's a piece of shit, Ariana's amazing, like, just like the content creator that was like, oh, she should have her in her contract that he has to stay 80 feet away from her. Like, people think that she doesn't have a choice but to film with him, probably. Okay, but, like, obviously must not be that terrible if you're still living with him and it's been months. It's not been days, it's not been weeks, guys. It's been months. Okay? He doesn't need an attorney to evict someone. It's very you go file the paperwork yourself, you just pay the filing fee. They'll probably help you at the clerk of court's office. It would be very simple. So, moving on. Even John Fuda said to Louis, "I would connect." Exactly, Jamie. He thinks he's like a gangbanger. But here's the thing: like, you're dealing with old school. You're dealing with Louis and his people, which are like Bo Dietl. Did you guys see his interview? He's old school ATF. They're so old school Italian. Well, he's not Italian. I'm sorry, I accidentally called him Italian, and everyone was like, "I think he's German." But they have an old school manner about them, which is very different from the people of today that do those same, things that maybe these older OGs, they've retired, they don't want to get in trouble with the law anymore. They might have a couple of licks or side hustles here or there, but they're not out in the streets. Sorry, guys. They're not out in the streets, not like probably John Fuda was, he was probably like, sadly, he was probably partaking. Sorry, I have to be like careful with my words, guys, because I don't want to get demonetized. He probably was. What happens a lot of times with people is when they start to do a recreational substance and they like it and they keep doing more and more and more of it, and sometimes that can turn into an addiction, um but sometimes not. But regardless, you will see people, what they will do then is they will buy bulk of it, right? And they will distribute small bags to local people in their community. And that way, it kind of gives them some leftover free to do for themselves. And obviously, you do that enough times and you get bigger and bigger trips of it, you're making more and more money. So you could do more and more for free. And eventually, if you continue, you'll make money. So, John Fuda is a Joe Gorga 2.0. He's a liar. And when the birth mothers are alive, you cannot adopt as quickly as that. And they have to get consent. She needs to show his receipts. I agree with you. She would have been served with something, especially since she was a warden of the state. It would not. So what happens technically, not with adoption, but even with a last name change? Like, my dearest friend has a son, had the dad's last name. Dad was never part of the life. Kid's 5 years old, starting kindergarten. Mom's like, I want us to have the same last name. So, like, you file it with the courthouse, but you have to give them an address for them to serve the person with the paperwork, right? And so you provide the address, but maybe it's not the right address. So then you got to go back down there and give them a different address. You have to do it a minimum of a certain amount of times, whatever the state legislation is, and try to reach that person. And then if that doesn't work, you have to run it in the newspaper for 30 days. Now, that's more for people who may have debts like adults, but you still have to do it for children. So she had to run his name in the newspaper for 30 days after 3 attempts of having him served with the paperwork by the sheriff's office. But he either was eluding the sheriff's office or not at those residents. That's how it goes. And obviously, people that are a little bit on the bad side of the law, they're not going to be like, oh, hey, sheriff. Yeah. They're going to be like, I'm hiding in the bathroom. No, I don't know. I'm just saying that's kind of, Fuda is trying to look like Gorga. Like, they are all trying to very much, I think, be like the cool kids with Joe Gorga. I do think that. I see that. I think it's evident. And at first it was like kind of cute, I guess. I think, again, there was a love for the house husbands that was potential for Bravo, but it got messed up, and it just is what it is. And if they continue to force it down our throats, people are gonna not like it even more. They don't want to be pushed on with the house husbands, right? They just don't. And the scene of Joe B, he's laying down without a shirt on, he has pink pants on, there's a party in his pants. Margaret's on one side of him, allegedly doing shots, which I don't think it was real alcohol. I think that she probably is using that as a moment to promote her drinks. And Lexi was on the other side of him on her knees pouring the alcohol. Was she pouring it out of like an actual liquor bottle, I wonder? I almost think she was. Like it was tequila. I don't know. Do you think Marge would drink? And if Marge did drink, it would be very clear that production had a very big hand in encouraging her, because it's likely that they did the same to Bill and Jennifer the last couple of years. And then they use that, and they use that scene, they use that content over and over and over. How many times did we see Bill drunk at the Shore House, a clip of it, of him crawling on the ground to embarrass him? They played it like, I don't know, 25, 35 times. We've seen it. We've seen the scene of Jennifer being carried to the Ferrari. How many times have we seen that? Like Bravo, it would only make, one, it would be like one answer. Like Bravo and Productions obviously telling these people, like, go get drunk. Listen, I hate to say this, but when someone had posted and said getting senior citizens drunk for entertainment is like so mean. And I thought they were talking about Melissa's mom, Donna Marco, and Marge Sr., because they were drinking and hoo-ha and having like a good time with each other. And so that's what I thought. Also, side note, I want to talk about Teresa has been posting. I think Gabriella is leaving for college, and they movers came and got all of her stuff, and Teresa like posted with her on the last day, because I think they took her. And shortly after, Melissa posted with Antonia at Target and put like last minute college things, and a lot of people in the press were just laughing about that. But she also commented on a Instagram page, in reference to a I don't know, like not a group, but like a podcast and blogger that's been around for a long time. I think her cousin joined her. They do a podcast together, and there's been some friction amongst the bloggers. And again, as Bravo infiltrated themselves between Kim and David, in my opinion, I feel like they could be starting little wars between people as well. Um, Allegedly, there was a woman who was posting and um, comments. It was There's a lot going on, but I'm sure if you guys are on Instagram, you've been keeping up to speed with it. Um, David's come out and said, like, I'm not, like, this is not me. Like, this is not all, like, I would, no, no. And it's so crazy just how everything, like, happens. But I don't know if this woman is, I think that she's real, because they posted her information and she claimed that she represented David. But there were other comments from people that are like, no, that PR company said that they didn't represent David. Like, then somebody said they had the same, I don't know, some sort of correlation between each other. But regardless, hopefully they can all get that all cleared up and mend everything, because I think that, again, Bravo doesn't like some of the content maybe that, David and Kim were putting out, or that David was putting out, because he doesn't have like he doesn't really have to stay in any parameters, because he is his own uh entity, his own business. So he doesn't have to stay in perimeters, like, you would if you are sponsored through iHeartRadio or something, right? Like iHeartRadio, Teddy and Tamra on their podcast, like there's things that they have parameters they have to stay within, because they have sponsors and they have to keep the sponsors happy. So when you don't have to have the perimeters, you can sometimes cover things a little bit differently and have a different perspective and say things that maybe, somebody, just like the difference between maybe a YouTube and like a Patreon, right? So YouTube, there's certain language I can't use. I can't say certain things. It would block my video, yada, yada, yada. But maybe I could go over to Patreon and spill it all. So, sort of the difference. What did I miss between Kim D and David? I think that they're parting ways. I don't know what all of the details surrounding their them splitting. I think that David is very, very busy and he like runs the behind the velvet rope and he does have help, but I still think like between New York and LA and he does like a lot of interviews. Like he works with Sarah Fraser. I love her. And also Tiger Woods is the woman that he was on the side. Yeah. He's had like, so he does a lot of interviews out in LA. And I think that Kim wanted to work more. You know what I mean? Like she wanted to work more. And I don't think that David could really give her the platform. And I wish that she like, they could have worked it out somehow. But for right now, they're parting ways and hopefully everyone is mended, that there's no hard feelings or issues, and if there's been anything that's wronged, it's righted, and everyone walks away not feeling having ill feelings towards one another, and maybe they can reconnect later. But I honestly think that really Kim wanted to work more. She wanted to cover more and do more interviews, and she has the connections to do that because she's in New Jersey. And I think David just having his other content and being all the way in LA, guys, that's like a 3-hour time difference. And you don't think it's a big deal, but when you start having to set up times to record with people and set up interviews and different time zones, it can be difficult. So people drag Teresa for having movers. I thought if you can afford it, why not? People saying I did trash bags and drove my kids. Why have movers if you have the money? It's a lot. Why not? Girl, have any of those people moved that are dragging Teresa? Have any of them ever moved in their life? We use movers. We used movers when we moved here because it's a lot of work, especially if you have stairs. They live in a freaking mansion. Can you imagine? Like, yeah, I can understand throwing things in trash bags and going to college. Sure, but here's the thing. She's going a decent amount away from home. And she's a girl. She probably has a ton of shit. And I wouldn't want to deal with it anyway. That is the last thing. If I was Teresa Giudice, that is the last thing I would want to be dealing with was packing her shit. Like, the big stuff. Obviously, the little stuff like her toiletries and stuff like that or whatever, like yeah, I'm sure that they probably kept those back. All the stuff that she uses daily, they probably kept back and threw in trash bags and took with them when they went. But the big stuff, the heavy stuff, whatever, it made its way into movers. I would never, ever, ever. Their mansion is huge. If her room's all the way up the steps and to the right, like then you got Louis, Teresa, then you got to. And here's the thing, people don't want to help you move. If I'm sorry to tell anyone that if they call on their friends to help them move, they are just being a really great friend to you by helping you because nobody wants to move, okay? And they don't want to help you move. If they do, it's simply out of the kindness of their heart. And I feel obligated to pay them because I'm like, man, you took time out, you took gas to come here, you gave me your time, your energy. Like, here's money. Like, here's money for your gas. Here's $50, whatever. Like, I will give my people money, even though they're my friends, and say not to because people's time is money. It's valuable. So you're gonna tell me that Louie and Teresa, like if they have to move stuff, they gotta have somebody help them. They're gonna have to pay them anyways. I would be like, movers, be done with it. I don't throw stuff in trash bags because it's ghetto. So why should she? Right. Exactly. Because Gabriella, um, damn, I didn't get a notification you were on. What the heck? I don't know. Guys, I was thinking about getting everyone's email address and like or maybe text messages so that way I don't have to depend on StreamYard to notify you guys. Because I use a streaming service. I don't know if there's like a delay between YouTube and the notification. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. But I'm trying to come on like every day, if not every other day. So Tuesdays and Thursdays. I was kind of talking to you guys yesterday. We're gonna do 2:30. We're just going to do a 2:30 live on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You guys can remember that. If you don't get a notification, come check my page. I'll likely be live. I also want to talk about, there was something else I wanted to bring up, and I cannot remember off the top of my mind. It was about something about maybe Bravo. Anyways, I think that they're infiltrating a lot of people. I think that Bravo and, they don't want David and Kim D interviewing all of these people that have been on the show that are now coming out and talking about how Bravo clipped things together, and Jan, they spliced her conversation, and just a lot of manipulation. I think especially early on, because they didn't have boundaries and perimeters, and they were literally trying to just film a successful franchise. So I imagine that production was way worse earlier because they didn't really have the rules and regulations that they have now, that they're like a big franchise. So those people that were involved in the beginning, in the younger years, like Amber, the twins, Bulldog, even Kathy and Richie Wakili, all them, like they had a very different experience with production, I'm sure. And I think that's why people really love to hear their perspective, love to hear them breaking the fourth wall. And Bravo does not want that to happen. Okay. I think everyone would love to have Bulldog get a Bulldog interview. I know that I would. It's difficult to even reach him. He has kids. He's married. He doesn't really want to be involved. I don't think he wants the headache. I don't think that he wants to deal with backlash. I don't think, they still live local to there, right? Like, Melissa has a big family. She has a big family. And and then plus their spouses, plus their kids, plus their kids' spouses. It's not a big area where they live, and I don't think that he wants to deal with any negative backlash that would come from what he could potentially say about Melissa or Bravo. Because even if he leaves the things that Bravo did out and just comes and talks about the messed up things with Melissa, that messes Bravo's whole edit and timeline up, because they've been doing the edit America's Sweetheart this whole time. So if she's not America's Sweetheart, then that would mean Bravo is lying, right? They're cleaning up Vanderpump Rules. They're doing it because now it's a booming franchise. They were going to be canceled, just completely be canceled. And now they're rating like the highest streamed cable network television show of 2023. Yeah, they're cleaning it up because they're about to make a lot of money off of it. And that's again why they brought Jax and his girlfriend and Stassi, because there's going to be a lot of press around Vanderpump. So that's why they can't have ex-castmates out here in the streets talking shit about Bravo on podcasts and all this different stuff. Sorry, I just got a text message and it made me lose track of my mind. America's Sweetheart, my ass. But that really is what Bravo's been. They Bravo very much wanted to have like a good girl, bad girl between Teresa and Melissa, and they worked hard to keep that narrative and that edit going, because Teresa doesn't come off warm and fuzzy on TV sometimes. Now, everyone that's ever met Teresa in life, like people, bloggers, random people, when she did her book signing, let's not forget, Teresa used to be booked and busy, but she was out in the community. She would do book signings, and like she would be at different events and things. So people in the community, I feel like, have met Teresa, and she's out and about a lot. She doesn't take bodyguards with her. Like even Carlos King, when he interviewed her, he's like, it was so funny because she would just be out on Sundays shopping and going to her favorite grocery store like she always did. And he's like, I would be like, Teresa, you're famous, like you can't just be going around the groceries, like. And she just didn't even, nothing. Mandy, I like, actually, you know what, that sounds better. I think that you might be actually, I'm sure Bulldog was paid in contract and not to say so. I actually think that that is very possible, considering the fact that they are trying to clean everything up. They wouldn't be upset to hand him some money. And his wife is helping too. That made me a little suspicious. That made me raise an eyebrow. It did. there was a blogger that was like, they weren't coming out. They were talking about, the third child. I don't like to talk about kids at all ever, but that's what they were talking about. That's their page. They completely have the prerogative to do that. And alluding to the fact that the youngest, might have a different daddy. The wife of Bulldog got in the comments of this blogger's post and started saying like, that's not his son. I would know if he had another kid. And, the blogger was like, well, here's the thing. If he doesn't know, how would you know? Like, and we're seeing photos of her with him, with Frank and Brittany and Roger and his girlfriend. Not one, but two. And the guy hasn't posted in years. Go look for him on social media. There's nothing. Nothing. So this is either manufactured and they're going to bring him on and pay him, or they did what Mandy said and they paid him a contract just to zip it. And he said, thank you. Thank you for saving me the time of exposing you guys. Have a great day. See you in another 5 years. I don't know. I don't blame Bulldog. No, that's what I'm saying. That is exactly what I'm saying. They live in a small Bergen County. That's not a big area. At all. And Melissa has a very big family. So you're going to be running into them at the grocery store. They're at, baseball games, softball games. Their kids are in sports. The nieces are in sports. The nephew, they're everywhere. There's a lot of them. And that is not something I would want to deal with. Not to mention he has 3 children within the school district. You guys, you always have to think about your kids and what they're going to deal with, with your actions. Yo-Yo says there's another friend within their group who's attacking people and telling them to leave Bulldog alone because he's been through a lot over Messi and him rumors. Can't remember the name though. I think that everything has died down with Bulldog since that all came out. But why post it then? You haven't been around. You haven't been active. We've been talking about him for 10 years, at least amongst the people that knew the situation. Bloggers, content creators, they've been trying to get, out and about. It's just crazy. And I've tried to reach him. I've tried to DM him. I've tried to find him on Facebook. Like, he doesn't post. He does not post. If you go into his Instagram, I think it's like private, or if there are pictures, they're old. They're not new. So it's like, why even post it? What's happening? Because that Joe Gorga is not happy that Frank Catania is hanging out with Bulldog. That's all I can think in my head is Joe's reaction to even hearing Bulldog's name and hearing that Frank was hanging out with him. Because Frank and Joe were buddies last season, okay? They sat next to each other at the reunion. But Joe did him dirty when he brought up Frankie. And I think Dolores got Frank's ass all the way together, is what I think. And then I was thinking maybe they invited him to the party even though Joe's pissed at him. Maybe if they're not going to use it as some sort of storyline or content for the party, maybe they're doing it because Frank has a lot of shit on him and they don't want Frank to be mad at them or be an enemy. Because if you guys remember, go back, watch the part of the reunion where they talk about Frankie when the men come out on the stage. Frank's out there and Joe, he asks the question. Like, he brings it up and it gets shot down and he brings it up again. And it's clearly uncomfortable for Dolores and Frankie. Dolores, she comes in, takes control of the conversation, yada, yada, yada. And then Joe takes it right back to Frankie Jr. and Louie. And if I was Frank, I would be pissed. I'd be like, bro, I think that there was even some pressure on him maybe to even talk about it and film it with Joe Gorga, because the scene where they're talking about it was filmed like months earlier. I don't know. It just seemed fishy to me. That's all. A lot of bloggers didn't like Teresa. Then they met her and said she was great. I agree with that, Jamie, 100%. And you know what I've said? a million times over, is that Teresa did not have the advantage that Melissa did when it came to social media, because Teresa was busy with her girls. You have to think about the time span from when social media got big and where Teresa and Joe were at in their life. They were fighting the freaking federal government. Okay, that takes a long time. That's a lot of energy. That's a lot of headlines oh, sorry guys, that's my low battery. That's a lot of headlines that are being generated, and it was also covering up for all of the dirt that was posted about the Gorgas. And that's why when people say, why didn't I know about the fake Chanel? Why didn't I know about this? How come we didn't hear about this? Like, what about the car dealer that was on America's Most Wanted? Like, it's all been printed. It was all in like Radar and OK and Page Six and even some TMZ. But because Teresa is the bigger name, guys, she was the name and she was dealing with court stuff, all of her updates would override anything that was being posted about Melissa and Joe. Because what is that? That's nothing compared to what they were dealing with. Are they going to go to, if you guys go back to, if you remember and you watched and you were a fan back then, and if you weren't, that's fine too. But let me tell you, it was everywhere. It was everywhere. It was on Good Morning America. It was on the 4 o'clock, PM shows. It was on Entertainment Tonight. It was on all of them. Was some sort of clip of Teresa and Joe, what was happening in the trial, the sentencing. When will Teresa leave? Will they be home for the holidays? Will he be deported? I mean, the headline of like debating on whether he would be deported was printed like until he was deported. Like, the headlines were constant, and she was dealing with the judicial system and not knowing what the outcome was. Very terrifying, very stressful, having 4 kids. Teresa didn't have time to be on social media. She didn't have time to be on social media making friends. She didn't have time to be making friends with news outlets. She probably, wouldn't, none of us could have maybe anticipated the significance that it would have in building rapport with some of these outlets and these different people, because it does pay off when you've worked with someone for years, and then somebody else comes along, you don't know Teresa, you're already biased. The goal is sort of to already get you biased, so that way you just don't listen to anything anymore, and they can just like keep it coming at you. And I think that Melissa and her family, guys, this wasn't a one-person show. All of them have accounts. All of them have backup accounts. All of them have backup accounts. Okay, we just busted another Finsta account. Like, it's constant. There's a lot of them. There's like, and they're women. Like, that's the thing. So what do women do? They're online. So it's like the sisters, the nieces, the wives, they're all on there. So it is like group effort, and it becomes a mass machine. She has a machine working for her. She doesn't have one, she's not paying a publicist. Okay, like everyone's trying to accuse Louis and Teresa of doing. Ooh, paying a publicist, paying a second publicist, playing a vlogger. This other woman has a machine of people. And if you don't believe me, just post a couple of negative comments to see what happens to you. I promise you'll get something in your DMs. You'll trust me. Just give it a second. It will happen. So she has a machine of people. She has people that are tech savvy. They are very smart. They can do things to accounts on different platforms that other people cannot do. And it's worked for her. It's working. It's working. I don't think that they run everything past her. I think that they do a lot of the things that they do behind the scenes. And we don't even know that it's happening because people zip it. They don't want to be harassed. You said, you start harassing them. They're like, oh, I don't, nobody wants to really deal with that. 9 times out of 10, they're just going to zip it. And they know that. And they use that as like a tactic to come at people for posting negative comments, allegedly. I mean, look at Margaret and Melissa. They're literally sharing a PR person. They're sharing a PR person. But she has a whole machine, so she doesn't really need a PR person to do a lot of what PR would do, because she's got her family whom she trusts, whom she knows is going to try to do the best for her, because they love the light too. They were interviewed on her podcast and said that they love having a famous cousin. They love it. So if they want to keep what little bit of clout they're getting from their coworkers, or I don't know, the neighbor, or at the basketball games, I don't know, whatever little bit of clout from being like Melissa Gorga's sister and stuff, they want to hold on to that. So they're like, oh no, we got to keep, we got to keep her in the good. We got to keep her working because everyone gets fed over there. And it's sort of like with Teresa, like Teresa's feeding everyone when she does her wedding show. She's got her kids in it. She's got Louis' family. Like everyone's sort of getting a paycheck. It's going to storm here. I'm going to have to cut this live, but I've been on for almost an hour anyways. Guys, make sure that you comment. Let me know your thoughts. I read all of the comments. I'm a little bit behind, so don't judge me, but I am reading comments and replying. You can check out my content on Instagram, HW Historian with the number 2. I post a lot of receipts there, okay? However, the perk of my YouTube channel is that this is where I funnel all of my tea first. You're never going to see my tea anywhere else but on YouTube first. And I do live streams. I don't post it and lure you guys with crumbs. I'm like, I've been working on this story. I have confirmation and I'm going live in an hour. Okay. So that's why it's important to have your notifications on. I'm going to come up with some sort of program so I'm able to, alert you guys either like via email or text message. So if that's something you're interested, put it in the comments. And then also check out my new blog on www.lindsay.com. And also, where is my, thank you for my headphones and my audio. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Amazon, for my fire pit. And thank you, Lisa, NYC Gal Out, for having me on your podcast every Wednesday. She has a great podcast. Go check it out. And I hope that you guys have a great day. Everyone, make sure that you please hit that like button, though. It definitely makes a difference with my video. It's a free way to support me, and it helps get my video out there in the algorithm and like the Real Housewives community. So I hope that you guys have a great day. I love going live with you guys too. I love to correspond. I know that some people don't like lives. And so what I try to do is I will do a live, but then I will condense the information, like facts, no commentary, put it in a shorter video, giving other people that are in a hurry or whatever the case may be, they're getting it fast. So I'm going to start doing like 3-minute daily updates as well every day. So it's under 3 minutes. So, all right, guys, I hope you have a great day. Hit the like button. Bye.